Two Democratic senators warning during the 2020 confirmation hearing for Amy Coney Barrett she would be a sure vote on the Supreme Court to kill Obamacare. But this week, that's not how things turned out. And we're back now with the panel. So, Susan, are you surprised that two justices named by President Trump, the aforementioned Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, both voted to uphold Obamacare? And given that this is the third time the Supreme Court heard a case about the Affordable Care Act and the third time it declined to overturn it, how safe do you think Obamacare is now, both in the courts and in Congress?
Well, Chris, I was surprised. I bet Donald Trump was surprised, too. It's a lesson presidents have learned. You can appoint who you want to the Supreme Court, but you can't make them do what you want once they're on the bench there. I think this means the Affordable Care Act is here to stay after an incredible decade of controversy. And you and I know how, even after the Affordable Care Act was passed, what a weapon it was for Republicans in a series of elections, serving their interest in raising money and winning congressional seats. This is now safely ensconced. It may be revised, expanded, amended, but the Affordable Care Act now is here, I think, to stay.
Juan, there was a lot of talk beyond the specific issue. There was a lot of talk this week about these two votes, the vote margins in the Supreme Court, 7-2 on the Affordable Care Act, 9-0 on an issue of religious liberties, that maybe the court isn't so ideologically divided. But here are some of the issues that are coming up in the last week or two of this session on voting rights, on free speech, and on campaign finance disclosure. Juan, for all the optimistic talk this week, do you think that the 6-3 conservative majority is still going to exert its will on this court?
Chris, I think Chief Justice Roberts has made a real effort to produce consensus, to take big issues, narrow them where possible, to allow the justices to come together with those 7-2 unanimous rulings that you just referenced. I think, though, that you have 15 cases remaining in the last 2 weeks of the court, and the three that you highlighted, I think Democrats may soon be reminded of why they're so concerned about that 6-3 conservative majority. The voting rights case comes out of Arizona and deals with people collecting ballots from remote areas, allowing people who voted in the wrong precinct to have that vote counted. There, I think the justices have been pretty consistent in siding with states setting the rules and not interfering with it, so I think Democrats would be upset. In the second case, what you have is a California law that requires donors to nonprofits, private nonprofits, I should say, as well as to charitable trust, to identify themselves. In the past, the court has been pretty clear. They see this as a free speech issue for those donors to remain anonymous. Of course, for the Democrats, they see this as dark money and, a hidden hand of influence in politics. The court's past rulings would indicate they're going to make Democrats unhappy here.
Maybe the biggest issue for the court doesn't involve any of those cases. Maybe the biggest issue is whether or not 82-year-old Justice Stephen Breyer is going to step down. Just this week, 13 liberal groups released this advertisement calling on Breyer to retire so President Biden can name his successor while the Democrats are in control of the Senate. Karl, do you see anything wrong with that?
I do. We have an independent judiciary. Put the hat on the other side. What if Republicans had run a series of ads calling on a member of the court to resign so that they could be replaced by a Republican president? There'd be a little bit of consternation, at least in the editorial rooms of the Washington Post and the New York Times. This is just ridiculous, in my opinion. Justice Breyer is going to retire when he thinks he should retire, when he thinks he can no longer give, service to the country with all of his mental powers intact. And the idea that somehow or another they're either going to pressure him to retire, this almost makes it impossible for him to retire early, is ridiculous. What are they going to do? Reward him with a speaking slot at the Democratic National Convention? And on the other hand, if he doesn't retire, what are they going to do? They're not going to invite him to the next squad meeting to have coffee with AOC. You know, the court has had, the members of the court have strongly held they're going to retire when they want to retire, and they tend to surprise presidents when they do. I remember 2005 when, out of the blue, on the final day of the session, 2005, I believe it was, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor retired. Gave no heads up, no discussion. There was no public pressure. She just decided that was the moment that she needed to leave, and she did. And the same will happen with Justice Breyer.
But Susan, the stakes for this have clearly been heightened, one because of the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the fact that Donald Trump was able to push her replacement through the court in about a month, and two, because you've got Mitch McConnell, who, after what happened with Merrick Garland back in 2016, has this week indicated that if Republicans take back the Senate and he's the Senate Majority Leader in 2024, the final year of Joe Biden's term, that he might block a Biden appointment. So both of those make the question of whether or not Breyer steps down now a little bit more pressing.
Yes, it's really focused the attention of Democrats. You know, I agree with Karl that an ad in Politico is not likely to convince Justice Breyer to step down, but keep this in mind. Who does Justice Breyer know very well? Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee when Stephen Breyer was a counsel to the Senate Judiciary Committee. They've known each other for decades. And of course, this is an issue that would certainly be approached with some delicacy, but I don't think it's impossible that Justice Breyer at age 82 would take into account this timetable that Mitch McConnell has set, saying not in 2024, no confirmation, maybe not in 2023. That really has put this clock ticking.
Susan, I got less than 30 seconds left. I always remember back in 2012, I had the great good fortune to interview Antonin Scalia when he was on the court, and I said to him, will you take into account who the president is when you decide to retire? Would you take into account you want you, as a conservative justice, to be replaced by another conservative justice? He said, if I have to tell you that, you must think I'm a fool. Do you think that'll be Breyer's reasoning?
Well, it could be. Could be. I guess we'll find out.
Well, to be continued. Yeah, we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Pat.